lead, and Hulkenberg already up into second position, coming down to the first corner. Racing Engineering cars, third and fourth, locked up brakes into the first corner. Have we got slight contact between Valsecchi and what looks to be one of the Coloni cars? Mortara has made contact with somebody at the back at that turn 1, and the drive is sideways now through turn 3 and into turn 4. The lead, though, being held by Vitaly Petrov and Nico Hulkenberg in second. It's the championship rivals still racing tooth and nail then, as they have been all season here in GP2. And Hulkenberg looking for a way past. Petrov down into turn 5. Petrov covers his line into the hairpin. Hulkenberg's all over him, wants to get past him early on in this race. 37 laps here on Portimao circuit. Nico Hulkenberg, we're right on board with him now, second position. Vitaly Petrov ahead, the pole sitter, and Hulkenberg hoping to take this team championship out of the reach of Adax, having sealed the Drivers' Championship last time out in Monza. Lap 1 then here in Portimao. It's Petrov, Hulkenberg, and then it's one of the Racing Engineering. I think it's De Grassi and Rodriguez already up to 4th. Danny Close slipping from 2nd on the grid to 5th. Pastor Maldonado, where's he? It's all important for the battle for the team's championship. The battle between Adax and ART. You see on the left hand side of your screen the drivers pulling into the final few corners of this circuit. Into turn 14 and 15, the downhill off camber, penultimate corner. Great turn, and Petrov looks to have the advantage over Hulkenberg. He's managed to keep him behind him, and the championship contenders cross the start finish line. We've got a safety car out here in Portimao. They were all filed together across the line, and out of my commentary booth I saw Sergio Perez having a little look at Alvaro Perez up in 14th position from the start of 24th. Alvaro Perez has made up 10 places on the first lap. Wow, what a first lap for the local boy. And Eduardo Mortara's stricken car, well, that ends what's been a pretty disappointing weekend for the Italian. He was quick in the wet, disappointing in qualifying, disappointed himself, 1.8 seconds off pole. And for poor old Edo, unfortunately, it's a disappointingly early end to the race for him. So behind the safety car here in Portimao, Petrov, Hulkenberg, De Grassi, Roldan Rodriguez 4th, Danny Close 5th, Pastor Maldonado 6th, Diego Nunez 7th, and Guido van der Gaard in 8th. Mortara getting out of his car. Wonder if that thing's stuck in gear and isn't moving anywhere. That's a decision not to try and move it with the safety car there. And Chandok's out of the race already. And I wonder if it was contact between him and Mortara through that first corner that caused Mortara's exit and has caused another early bath for Karim Chandok. So as Karun gets out of his car, a replay of the start, then a great start from Vitaly Petrov, an even better start though from Hulkenberg in 3rd on the grid, sweeping in front of both Racing Engineering cars as De Grassi gets past Danny Close. On the right hand side of your screen you see Nunez come in at the back. Mortara made contact with, I think that's Via. It is. So Mortara and Via made contact, and Chandok in the middle of the picture. Was he bumped as well? Nah, he spun. Now he spun just going out of picture there, I think trying to get past Mortara and Via. And as Via tried to get back on track again, making contact with Mortara's car, looks like an engine problem for Chandok. Smoke pouring out of the back of that Motion Racing car.
Into that opening corner, that tightening area as the grid marshals now leave. The whistles are blown. They will go out now for one lap, and then when they come up they'll line up, and then we'll be underway properly. This is the pole position man, Vitaly Petrov. And if you watched our coverage of the racing from Monza, you'll remember that Petrov was really having a great dice with Hulkenberg right up until the point where it all went a bit wrong. He ran off track, and that was it. The first race, the feature race, the race we have on Saturday, 39 laps in this race, and they have to make a pit stop where they have to change at least 2 tyres. Tomorrow's race is a sprint race, and that's flat out. And I would wager, Gareth, that for the sprint race it's going to be quite a bit of damage out there, and brave people. End of the season, championship's decided, nothing to worry about. Go for it.
Yeah, there's also a factor that we perhaps haven't considered. This weekend they're using the soft compound of rubber. Now we've seen elsewhere where they've used that, and generally they keep it for tighter and twistier tracks like this one. in qualifying, the teams have commented that actually the rubber is going off pretty quickly. And I think, you know, today it'll be an issue, but there obviously is a compulsory pit stop. Tomorrow, no compulsory pit stop.
Sorry, Gareth, is this rain we're seeing here on
Could be the cloud. The clouds, as you see, is very grey. It could be just be some fluid. Obviously, starting the race, they topped the cars up to the max with the fluid, so it could just be fluid from the car in front. But the clouds are pretty grey, aren't they? But with the soft compound of tyre in tomorrow's race, where there's no pit stop, come the last third of the race, these guys are really going to be struggling for grip. And if you stay on board now with Petrov, we'll see what a technical tight circuit it is and how important it is to have good grip from the tyres.
This is a corner into the last third section of the track. They go left uphill. If you've driven Coppice at Cadwell Park, that first turn, you'll know exactly what it's like, because the owner of this track has borrowed certain geometries and styling points from famous British circuits, so it's just like Coppice at Cadwell Park. He was going up there before he turns a right and drops down the hill, and that really is a huge dip, drop, compressions all over this place. It's certainly not going to be easy for Petrov, who will be looking to get away ahead of Kloss. Behind him though, Nico Hulkenberg, the new champion, and Gareth, will get to this later on throughout the afternoon that we've got here on British Eurosport, but Hulkenberg a big favourite for a good Formula 1 drive next year.
Yeah, it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, he's done such a good job this year in winning the GP2 series, on the back of winning the F3 Euro Series last year, so he has a pedigree of drivers like Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg. They, the championship winners, everything they do. So he certainly deserves a good seat. He's been linked with the Williams F1 drive. I hope it comes off for him, because it'll be good to see what a job he makes in F1.
We have had Sam Michael talking about that reportedly to the press from the Williams concern, saying that Hulkenberg would be a very viable prospect for the future. Let's hope he does make that. Let's hope as well guys like maybe Vitaly Petrov, okay, maybe he's too old now, but there is a chance perhaps that he can find his way on there in one of the new teams under the new regulations that are coming in. So Gareth, they're forming up now. They're coming up to get some heat in the tyres, spinning the cars a little bit, lining up on the grid. That's Petrov ahead of Kloss, so we can see there Hulkenberg just behind, kicking the back end of his car out there. What's going through the driver's mind at this point?
Well, the difficulty for the front guys, and it always happens in GP2, they just seem to take such a long time, this Petrov's team down the pit wall, just such a long time to line up. So guys like Petrov and Kloss at the front, wait what seems like an age to want to get the race started. You look in the mirrors thinking, what on earth is taking so long? You can see here, we've been sat there for 5 seconds already. No sign of the job being completed yet. So most guys take the car out of gear, leave it in neutral. Some leave it in gear, so you sat there with your kind of clutch pulled in, ready to go.
Here we go then, we're lining up for the first of the two races from Portimao in the final round of the GP2 series. Vitaly Petrov is in pole position. Looks like he's already staking his claim by pointing it on the inside line of the right-hand corner that they're going to come to. They'll go along the start-finish straight, have a huge drop-off before they dive in. Just wait to see the film rolls around on the onboard camera. Doesn't look like there are any spots of rain, so perhaps we're right, that was some fluid or something coming out from the cars ahead. Let's hope the rain clouds stay away then. This race from Portimao. Wait for the lights to go on, then they'll drop off and we'll be away. Oh, great start there from Hulkenberg. Brilliant start off the top there. Kloss looks like he's already been dropped back. That's De Grazia as well. Hulkenberg and Vitaly Petrov. So the two guys, massive lock up on the outside. As you said, Gareth, huge problems there for the drivers getting in. 24 can't go. There's a spinner down there at the back. Tough all round.
Yeah, it's one of the Supernova cars and one of the DPR cars, I think. It's tangled.
Oh, more people in the dirt as well behind, further down like that, but up front is Vitaly Petrov with Hulkenberg just behind him. So the drivers who were battling it out for the championship continue. The situation is normal. Kloss is in third.
That was unusual, wasn't it? There's Hulkenberg going for it. That's the one place on the track you can overtake. He's down into the left-hander and Petrov had that covered. But unusual to sit on board with the car as the lights go out. Hulkenberg got a great start away from the line.
Hulkenberg absolutely drive around the outside of Kloss as they were going into that first corner. A corner that favours the brave. Hulkenberg then right up behind Vitaly Petrov. The Russian money man is leading this championship. That is rain coming down. I will put money on that, Gareth. That looks like rain coming down here at Portimao. If that's the case, it's going to turn into a nightmare for them. They head on up now to a fast right-hander. This is downhill. You have to have the car perfectly set up for it before you drop down. You can see it there. Yeah, the cameras don't do the elevation justice. It's hard to walk up that, let alone drive down it. That corner is Craig Jones' corner.
Couple of guys kicking out the dirt there. I think at the back of the field it was Via and Mortara who tangled. Looks like they both got going again, I think, but they were the two cars we saw spin at the back.
Mortara having a nightmare, didn't have a great race in Monza, and now he's gone out here and just been caught up in that. But fortune favours the brave, as they say, and it certainly is there. Well, safety car is out.
Yeah.
We can assume that's probably for the clearing away of some debris as they were coming across. So Petrov it is who leads from Hulkenberg, and then De Grazia, Rodriguez and Kloss. So the safety car is out. It'll allow them all to bunch up. We didn't get too many laps under our belt before it happened. I would venture that's the reason why. That's Mortara's car there in the pits there, and he'll need some attention. Looks like the driver's out perfectly okay, should be okay after a spin like that. No problems there, so he's out, but you can't leave a car obviously for safety reasons on the outside of such a difficult corner as well.
Yeah, on an F1 weekend you'd have cranes positioned around the circuit to lift cars away. Obviously non-F1 weekend this weekend, so haven't got that luxury to be towed away like the old days.
You make a good point there. This is the only standalone race in the GP2 series this year. The rest of the time they have been out in action as part of the support class for the F1. Not the case here, so these guys are really top of the bill here in Portimao. And well, there is Mortaro. He hadn't got out of the car. He has now though, and he will make a move whilst the interesting pace cars and circuit vehicles alongside him. You don't see pace cars like that.
Seems to be a
Where's
lot
the digger?
of urgency going on, does there really?
That's
That's the
not
ocean
Parent,
cars, isn't it?
That's not Parent. Oh, it's Chandler.
teammate,
Okay,
yeah.
right. Well, let's talk about Parent, because he started the race down in 24th last place of the grid, as we talked about, because of that gearbox failure in qualifying. In the melee, he made his way up to 14th overall. So he's had quite a tidy first lap or two there, Gary.
Yeah, he has. I mean, that first turn, as I said before, it lends itself, and here's a replay of the start. Super start from Hulkenberg. You see him get really hooked up well. Goes for the gap between the two front row drivers. Not quite close enough for Petrov to have a look, but certainly close enough to cover himself. At the back, we can see loads of locking up, and somewhere amongst all that, like you see Mortara and Veer. There they go, tangle on the apex of the first turn. A couple of cars going down the escape road, and it was always going to happen, wasn't it? Veer just runs over Mortara just for good measure.
So tight into there, so tricky.
I mean, pick the bones out of that. You can't really see who. So I think Mortara actually straight lined the corner, didn't he? Locked up and just tagged Veer. And Veer drives over Mortara's front wing to say,
thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Well, added grip is always a bonus wherever you can find it out there. This is Parent's car. Just sorry,
Chandok blowing up.
The brain said Parent, the mouth said Chandok. That's it. Chandok's car then pulling over. Terminal for him in this race. That's it, game over, as we've seen. Interesting from the start though, Gareth, to see De Grassi come around the outside of Colosse on the Fat Burner racing cars, 1-2 there, reversing their position on the grid. Not good for Colosse.
No, I mean, I'm not entirely surprised. It was his first race all season that he managed to haul the car up to the very front of the grid. Done a good job, and he only just missed pole by a whisker, 500th of a second, I think. But I'm not surprised. De Grassi is a pretty good driver, a pretty good racing driver, shall I say. Colosse has got himself involved in some silly incidents this year, so I'm not surprised to see him slip back a little bit.
We saw him tangle in Monza. And was the subject of a quite controversial incident. So take us through this from.
I mean, Hulkenberg just got off the line just so well, and Colosse was struggling with wheel spin. Petrov got just a good enough start to keep himself in the lead. Tipped around the first turn, and he's away. See further around the lap, we see Hulkenberg have a little bit of a nibble. Let's hope we stay on board. You see the cold tyres there, the car just getting out of shape.
So much work Hulkenberg's having to put in, as indeed Petrov will be as well. But so much work, so much correction with the wheel as he's coming around into that first right-hander. Of course, as you said, the tyres will be cold. The track looks like it's quite slippery. They're struggling to get.
I can't believe that they're taking so much
this amount of time to get Mortara's car
ridiculous.
Still away.
But looking at Petrov there, he was on the defensive when he didn't need to be there. We saw on the opening lap, Hulkenberg had a good look at him into that left-hander behind the pits. I think what caused that was Petrov was so tight and so defensive into the right-hand hairpin before that straight. He compromised his speed on the straight, didn't need to do that. Hulkenberg wasn't quite close enough, really had to have a look at him. And Petrov, I think, had one eye on the mirrors, one eye on the road. Should have been looking up the road rather than back down the road.
Sure, and that part there where you talk about that part of the track, you come out of the right, and then it's a build uphill. You've got that sweeping left, but it's all uphill. So momentum is absolutely vital through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a steep hill after that turn, isn't it?
Okay, where we go with De Grassi, that's Colosse in front of him.
Colosse just gets that wheel spin, it just costs him those two places there.
And from this point of view, we'll see Hulkenberg's very tentative line into this first one. Takes it so easy there as he goes out.
Yeah, De Grassi runs wide ever so slightly. Again, just on the cold rubber. You see Petrov now. I mean, Hulkenberg really isn't close enough to have a proper look, especially on cold tyres. Petrov goes tight. And it's that tight manoeuvre, going tight to that hairpin, that cost him up the hill and down into the one overtaking place on this track. Certainly opens the door there.
You say the one overtaking place on this track. We'll see if they can do it as they go over the rise as well and down into that left. We've seen a couple of lockups there going around on this first couple of laps, so we'll soon see if that can pan out and provide us some action throughout the rest of this race. Safety car's still out. We've got 35 laps to go of the 37 we're scheduled for this afternoon here at Portimao. They're taking their time getting rid of this stranded Mortara car.
This is just ludicrous. It's a straightforward incident. We just towed the car away. I think Mortara got so bored waiting, he's walked off. He was waiting around for them to sort it out. He's walked off and now got a marshal sat in the cockpit of the car trying to steer it back to safety.
It is quite frankly ridiculous that they can't get.
Well,
but the Portimao circuit, Gareth, the Portimao circuit has good access. You can get any sort of vehicle in and out.
For Maldonado, which way to go? Round the outside. He's got that. Lovely. Maldonado's also on the brakes. He's really struggling on the brakes, Maldonado. But don't forget, this is for the front row tomorrow. This is for poles. And Maldonado actually has dropped to 8th place. 8th is pole tomorrow because the top 8 reverse.
Absolutely. So Kobayashi would now be 2nd place on the grid.
Yep, exactly.
The top 8 from this race get turned around. That gives us our first 8 in the racing tomorrow. So whoever finishes in 8 is on pole for the sprint race. Sprint race, no pit stops, and it will be the end of the year. The situation is go for it, guys. Here we go. This is the replay of Kamui Kobayashi on the right hand side of your screen, driving around the outside of Pastor Maldonado. As you said, Gareth, Maldonado into there is, by comparison, awful.
Yeah, you could see he was on the brakes a good couple of lengths earlier than Kobayashi was. And whether that's the problem, whether that's why he's so slow, because his brakes are shot. I mean, it's pretty hard on brakes around here, and you do have to respect them and look after them. So maybe he's just been too hard on his, and now he can't get the car stopped.
It was interesting after qualifying that we heard Vitaly Petrov and Nico Hulkenberg both talk about the problems with braking here. You did talk about it at the start of the race, Gareth, but you can only assume, like you say, after 33 laps now, that they're really feeling it on setup.
And on tyres too, don't forget, we're on the soft compound this weekend, and the tyres really are way past their best. Hulkenberg at the front, as we see all season, he's still doing 32s. That's been the pace today. He's still banging in on the pace laps of mid-32s, but he's so good at looking after his tyres. Most other people, Petrov did a 32.9 just. Everybody else in the 33s and 34s.
Now coming under huge amounts of pressure from Zuba, Regon, Kloss, all these drivers basically queuing up to have another bite at Pastor Maldonado. Again, into that first turn, absolutely awful. Therefore, Maldonado, as he comes in, best he can do is drive defensively. Won't keep back Zuba though. He's managed to find his way past.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'd say braking is probably a good explanation for Maldonado's utter lack of pace.
Such a shame as well, because he showed some good form earlier on, even in that battle with Kloss, where the pair of them sort of had that clout that coming together. He had some decent pace, and for him to be robbed of, I would agree with you. It certainly looks like brakes here. It would be a shame here at Portimao. Still better to come tomorrow. It's a good indication of what we can expect tomorrow if conditions are similar.
Yeah, he's dropped out of the top 8 now, so he's actually in the worst position of 9th, which means. Well, no points first of all, but also it means he starts from 9th tomorrow.
On the grid, yes, absolutely.
One place more if he's starting from pole, so it's a fine line. But he's had a real tough season, and obviously being Hulkenberg's teammate, nobody wants to be Hulkenberg's teammate. The guy's been utterly dominant. Maldonado came into GP2 this year with a good reputation. He'd won in GP2 previously. He was expected to be a front runner for the championship, and Hulkenberg's out-qualified him 10 times out of 10, and out-raced him 10 times out of 10 as well. He's been utterly dominant.
So we're on the head of Kloss. I'm going to just return to a story we touched on a little earlier with the PK and the buyout team, Gareth.
So this is back to our second, third and fourth. This is Filippi, De Grassi and Petrov actually. This is our Filippi's dropped right back into De Grassi's clutches.
I will get you to talk about that. We'll do it at the end of the race. You're absolutely right, because Vitaly Petrov now, well, he's clearly searching for the finish here. He's got some pace that he feels he can make on De Grassi.
Yeah, I think Filippi is in trouble here. He was comfortably ahead of the guys behind him by 2 or 3 seconds. Suddenly, the last lap or two, the gap has shrunk right down to this.
2 laps to go. These 3 drivers. You've got a feeling it's going to. This is going to turn into a proper fight. You see, Petrov's car just absolutely sliding, skewing left to right.
Yeah.
As he was going up the hill.
He's just trying to get an arrow. He's trying to get the pack as early as he can to get the ball to Grassi. But obviously, he just got too soon and just lit the rears up.
So on board with Vitaly Petrov, currently 4th overall. Nico Hulkenberg has gone. He's cleared up. We can't even see him in this shot here ahead of Vitaly Petrov, who we're on board with, is De Grassi. Ahead of him is Felipe. Lock up there from De Grassi as he's trying to get him right from the penultimate corner. Petrov, look at the amount of work he's putting in through the steering wheel. Fantastic stuff from the Russians. He's coming down into the final corner. The track dips away. Your whole body compresses in the car as you're coming up. Then the big rise up onto the start-finish straight. There you go, looking for the slipstream, looking for the drivers in front. Petrov not close enough, but De Grassi just might be on Felipe. No, not at the end there.
think he's done the smart thing actually. Nothing else matters, you know. Don't worry about how quick you are around the rest of the track. Look after the car, look after the tyres. What counts is being quick for that final turn onto the front straight. Because if you slow off here, then they'll just gobble you up with the slipstream. Petrov really made the opposite mistake at the last key slow turn. He got too much too soon. Got the car out of shape and lost 2 or 3 lengths as he got sideways, and that stopped him from mounting an attack on Degrassi.
So into the final time. Watching brief in fourth, and you've just got the impression that Petrov, obviously the last thing he wants to do is finish off the podium. Obviously he wants to get onto the podium to make the top 3, but do you think he can do it round here, Gareth?
Well, it's difficult to say. It's obviously the last lap. They're all going hard at it. Degrassi's in the worst position of these two. He's got a car ahead, a car behind. He's busy in front and behind. You know, it's hard when you're fighting about 2 fronts.
But do you see anywhere that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, but it's going to take a mistake. I think it's going to take either a mistake just from pressure or just a straightforward lack of concentration. You can never rule it out. As you said, Petrov would love to finish the season the podium for the World.
Well, absolutely. yes, good point. Very well made, Gareth. But this is the race winner then, Hulkenberg, crosses the line to take the checkered flag. That's his 6th win of the year. No problem there for him as he comes over, and Felipe will indeed take second ahead of Degrassi on the Berner Racing team. Third place is Vitaly Petrov. So a great result there for Nico Hulkenberg. He is the champion. We knew that from Monza. He is also most likely to go on to a great Formula 1 drive next year, if the rumours are to be believed. And well, he's done his account very well here. That puts him out in the first race. So Hulkenberg has crossed the line ahead of Felipe and Degrassi and Petrov, who, despite everything he was trying there at the end, wasn't to make it onto the podium. Then Rodriguez, Herc, Kobayashi. So Kobayashi did get ahead of us, but he keep it there. Then Zuba and Rigon. Zuba coming out back in the battle between him and Rigon. Then Kloss, who qualified in 2nd on the grid, but just couldn't make any better than 11th. But at the end of the day, this man, Nico Hulkenberg, who was our race winner, brought him out in a feature race in 37 laps and a fairly early getaway in this race. You see the way he went, and that really shows his class. What we've seen throughout the year, 6 wins now to Hulkenberg. It's a pretty masterful performance, Gareth.
Yeah, it's fitting that he should win the last feature race. It was a superb performance, and as I said before, he's so good at getting out front and looking after his rubber. You know, right at the end there, he's still doing times that were only 3-4 tenths slower than when the rubber was on new after the pit stop. Everybody else had dropped off in the 33s. It's like their second pass than any of them.
In the Art Cup. Now, if you're a team boss in Formula 1 and you were looking at this, you tend to, as is the case in all motorsport, Gareth, but you tend to look at times as well. I mean, the racing is the racing to a certain extent, but you look at times much predominantly at the end of a race. As you just said, the 33.5 there at the end of the race for Hulkenberg says a lot about the driver and his management of rubber, car, everything.
Right, exactly. A sympathetic driver goes a long way, especially in a longer race. An F1 race, can be up to 2 hours long. You need somebody who cares for the car, not some rock ape who's going to break the tyres, break the gearbox. It's all very well being fast, but it's not enough. There are lots of drivers out there who are fast. You need to be someone who's got an intelligent brain.
You have to be appreciative of the vehicle around you and what it can do. So Nico Hulkenberg, the man who is, like I say, looking forward to this. He did go out on the Williams car before, and well, that was a pretty poor outing for him in the previous life, Gareth. 3 laps, I think it was. Then he finished it. But I mean, he now has put himself back in the shop window, and you do that the best way you can by being fast.
Yeah, and that was some time ago. That's absolutely old work riser now. And I think Willy Webber has been massaging things behind the scenes, and he will win his chance, I'm sure. Well done to Herc as well. I have to say, he finished 6th, which we haven't seen him get anything near that this year. So he does avoid the embarrassment of going a whole season without the team scoring points.
You have to say as well, Herc played the pit stop to the absolute letter. Okay, a bit fortunate perhaps when the safety car came out. But even if the safety car wasn't out, he played that very well, stayed out a lot longer than everybody else, managed to put in good times in the 32.4s, 32.5s, whilst Razia was dropping off. He was into the 34.3s, those who had yet to pit, and Herc managed to keep it very fast right up until the pit.
Yeah, well, I'm amazed.